Good morning. My name is Ina Irby. I survived a cult. So I'm gonna, dispense with the, I'm dispensing with the likes and subscribes. But if you want to, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. It helps the community, right? So that we can survive and get better and think better and do better, right? All right, here we go. Formalities. Dispense with the formalities. Here we go. March 17th. Peace has to be created in order to be maintained. It is a product of faith, strength, energy, will, sympathy, justice, imagination, and the triumph of principle. It will never be achieved by passivity and quietism. Dorothy Thompson, 1893-1961. Recovery has to be created in order to be maintained. Many of us don't have sanity to be returned to step 2. We have to create it. And the 12 steps are not a passive process. Will is not our enemy. It was part of the problem, and it will be part of the solution too. Faith, justice, sympathy, imagination. Are these not an apt description of the steps that create peace in each of us? When a snake sheds its skin, it lets go of the dead, dysfunctional layer. The new and wholesome skin, the new self, is already inside. It is just a matter of writhing, massaging, or employing other kinds of work and energy to get the old skin off. Being likened to a slithering reptile may give us the creeps, but let's take what we can from this metaphor. It doesn't matter if our guidance comes from a higher power or an inner voice. The snake's shedding of its skin is a useful likeness to the process. Our better self, higher self, or our good orderly direction is already inside us. It's just a matter of tearing down these walls, this old skin that we have built up for protection over the years. What an order indeed. But if we are willing to work up a sweat, the transformation can begin. Dorothy Thompson is not talking about our personal recovery. She's talking about what it takes to right the wrongs in the world. The great thing about our second chance at life is that we don't have to sit on our hands in white-knuckle sobriety for the rest of our lives. We can apply what worked for us in overcoming denial, self-destruction, and seeming hopelessness to the world around us. We can make a difference. We intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle us, just as Alcoholics Anonymous promised. What am I doing with my second chance? Am I focused on more? More for me? Do I look for ways to apply the power of recovery to the world around me? I was listening to a doctor and his psychologist, and I'll try and put it in the description. And he was just explaining how we can hold ourselves back, right? It's easy to hold ourselves back and think that we're not enough, or other things that, for me, the world was an evil thing to look at. So I was this one little tiny thing, little dot, right? And here was this big old world that Satan controlled. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute. And as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, because that's the cult that I came from, they always portray evil and Satan as the world around us is controlled by him. And so we have Jehovah, who's bigger, right? And who can take care of this little tiny dot in the whole scheme of things, which would be me. And I always felt like I had like no power. I mean, either way, this guy was always upset with me because I didn't do enough. And this guy was always trying to get me to do the wrong thing. And here I was, you know, just like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Oh my God, what am I doing here? And it was hard. It was so hard to try and rely on myself and my inner voice. It didn't exist. And then when I came out, it was recovery. It was learning how to shed all that belief system and realize that I did have an inner voice that I could rely on. I didn't have to necessarily have a higher power. I could listen to myself. I could make deductions as to what I thought was right and wrong. And at the time, when you first come out, for me, when I first came out, I think it was with my kids. I didn't really know who to let them associate with because we never had a good gauge as growing up. My mom didn't let us associate with anybody from the world and only Jehovah's Witnesses. And these Jehovah's Witness kids that were supposed to be the ones that we were supposed to associate with, elders' kids, they were like the worst. I always seemed like they were getting in trouble. To me, they were always getting in trouble, but they always seemed to find a way to skirt the issues. And they got out of the trouble. They didn't get centered on as much. Whereas the kid that had the alcoholic father that was always in the back room with the elders and who told him all his indiscretions, we got like the magnifying glass of what we were doing. We couldn't go to school. We couldn't, you know, oh, she's going to college. Oh, she married a man that was whatever, whether he be disciplined in the congregation. For us, it was called disciplining a person when they got announced about something they did, smoking, minors, they took a drag of a marijuana, whatever, you know, the smoking stuff, minor stuff. They would get in so much trouble. Whereas the child molesters would always they were always let loose in the congregation. No lie. I mean, I know that. I saw a man at a district convention, 3 generations he molested. Ugh. Yeah, so, you know, transformation, it's willing to work up a sweat, right? And writhing and massaging or employing other kinds of work and energy to get the old skin off. So I've had to do a lot of my own work myself. I did go to a therapist. It sort of helped. I'm not gonna lie. It sort of helped. Creating something for myself, learning what that is, right? Finding the solution, listening to my inner voice. Picking friends, that has always been a challenge. Picking good friends. And I think you can find help, but it really helps to find people that will gear you in the right direction, right? For me, it's always been my husband. He's always been the sounding board for me. And I've had other people that I've met along the way, but honestly, you know, friendship takes a lot of work, and I have a family and I have my own life that I'm trying to keep up with. So investing that time is hard. It's hard for me to find that person. I have met people along the way, and they're kind of interesting. That's all I have to say. I know that I use that word, but they were a challenge to understand. And some of them, they left me, and sometimes I left them. And that was fine by me. I realized that we're no longer this package deal, right? This is what we believe. This is how we do it. This is the way we do it, and you're doing it too. And we have this, we're going with it together. Whatever we have in this box, that's what we're doing. That's what we're using. No, there's like a whole different, I mean, there's all different tools that you can use to raise children, to have friends, to do things differently than the next person. And they can help. If you meet someone, right, that you really get along with, they can help you with your process, or you can decide that, hey, they're not safe, and vice versa. You're not safe for them. That's it. Over. And you get to choose differently. So you don't have that same, we're Jehovah's Witnesses, we should love our brothers and sisters, this is the group that we have. You cannot go outside that sphere, right? Nope, all gone. That belief system is all gone. So finding friends it can be really a challenge, because you have to find them and make it, you know, I've heard from other YouTubers, it takes a lot of work, and you have to do it. You put a resume together and you try and look for a job. That's how you have to look for a friend. And I just don't have all that time, right? I don't have that. I'm a mom. I work 32 hours a week. When I come home, I like to organize and clean and get rid of stuff. And I'm really trying hard to do that. And that helps my mind. I notice that helps my mind. You've seen what I've worn to work before. It's like a uniform, so I don't really care about the rest of the stuff that I have. I have like one or two, or I have probably 20 outfits that I have that I can narrow down to about 6, right? And, but just getting rid of things helps my mind. And like I said, I go to Al-Anon when I can on Thursdays with my girls, and they have, I am guarded, and I really, like I said, I think too, being one of Jehovah's Witnesses was stunting when it comes to friendship, being able to make friends. And it had, it's been a challenge for me to see who I trust. One, because I have to try and figure out what it is inside of me that makes me who I am and what my principles are, right? Al-Anon has helped with that. I don't have to do everything that everybody else is doing. I was a melder. I could meld right into the group, but it didn't necessarily mean that's what I wanted to do. So that's why it's nice to have that kind of quietness that I have. And the people that I do have in my life, I love them. And we don't always see things, we're not always eye to eye on things. We don't always have the time to spend with each other. We'd like to, but they have different, I have a few friends that they just have a whole different, what is it? Oh gosh, routine from mine. My pace is very slow, and I have other friends that their pace is really high, and I just could never keep up. I know I couldn't. I know my kids couldn't. So yeah, it's being able to listen to your inner voice and see what it's saying. And I don't have to keep the same pace as everybody else, and that's okay. Yeah, exercise for me is really helpful. Like I try and walk every day. When I walk, I notice my mental state is just so much better, and I can make better decisions throughout the day if I start early. And I can, if I wait too long, the heat sets in here in California, and the medication that I take and the heat doesn't work well together. So I've learned my body. So pacing myself, learning what that feels like, right? Learning how to pace yourself. In my cult, it was always given, this is how we do it, routine, 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 routine. And that routine kept us mentally confined into this one way of thinking. When you don't have that routine anymore, you kind of go into a zone where you're like, flatline, because you don't, for me, it was just like, I just don't want to do anything. And then as you get your energy back and your mental state gets stronger, you can You can start to do little things. And because all those things around you, the choices that you have can be daunting. But then when you realize, oh, I can trust myself to make that decision. I can trust myself to do this. I can trust myself to do that. Oh, I don't want to do this anymore. It doesn't feel good for me anymore. Or I don't want to hang out with that person. That group of people that I would normally go with, that doesn't feel good to me anymore. They don't feel right. And so, yeah, you find your pace, you find your peace, you find your, it's nice to know that there's another routine that you can always establish. You don't have to stick with one, and you can change it up. Yeah, that's what I noticed. So we can apply what worked for us we can apply what worked for us in overcoming denial, self-destruction, and seeming hopelessness. And that's what I realized, right? The hopelessness that comes from staying in my cult, and then the hopelessness that I had when I came out too, because I thought, oh my gosh, everybody else is so much further. And I think that's another thing, is not to compare myself, right? Don't compare yourself. Everybody goes at a different pace. Do I look for ways to apply the power of recovery in the world around me? I always encourage you, if you can do this, young or old, it doesn't matter. People need to hear your experiences. If you can do a better job than me, do it. It helps. It helps other people. If it just helps that one person, you have done your job, right? In my cult, as Jehovah's Witnesses, we always thought we were going to help people survive into the new world, whatever, right? You can help people survive this one. You don't have to worry about the new one, right? Or whatever you believe, or however that is, you can help people survive themselves. Because sometimes it's hard. Our minds play tricks on us. And we think we can't do things. I've been there. It's hard. And every now and then I get into a rut. And it's like, oh, I told you that. So, and then I get shunned, and then I'm like, oh, no. As one brother, I saw him at a beach. I was coming down, and they were preaching. It was during the virus shutdown, right? And all these witnesses are on the beach with their clothes on, their Kingdom Hall clothes, with tracks. And you have to walk these stairs, these long stairs. So I'm coming down, and the brothers are coming up. And then this one brother's like, oh, he saw me. oh no. And so, right, when you get to a point where you're feeling badly, you're like, no, oh no, and being shunned. Oh, no. I think now, no, I'm not gonna not do this. This is important. Being shunned can kill people. It kills people. We just don't hear about them because they're no longer, they're just not in our little circle. As if you're still in, you don't realize how many people die, and they don't account for you. You don't get funeral services, or you don't get your name recognized. You're just not. You're done. And suicide in our cult is a 50-50 thing. I mean, you could be seen to be fine, and they let you go into the Kingdom Hall, and they have a big whatever advertisement about how you can get a Bible study. That's basically what funerals are about. They're never about the person. It's very sad. So, yeah, it takes some work. It takes some writing, you know, to get that old skin off, that old belief system off of you. And it takes, well, it's taken me a long time. And I think it's always going to be, like my husband said, we'll always be a little bit strange. So, I'm strange. That's what it is. And you just move on. You hope that people understand if they find out. And if they, whatever, right? What are you going to do? It's who you are. It's who you've been. And I'm not going to make apologies for that. I wish I could do things differently. It is what it is. I appreciate what I have. And I try not to take it for granted. So, I hope this helps you on your healing journey. Thank you for spending time with me. And like I said, if you can share with someone else your experiences, please do it. We need to hear you. I want to say something. Is there anything else I could say? I don't think so. So follow your bliss and be good humans.